Just a Drawing Workshop. This is day 4 of the workshop. You may be wondering, why am I giving this introduction at the start of a section? Don't I usually have a little... Doesn't it seem obvious that I'm banting with Twitch chat before the stream starts? Aren't I usually doing homework review before the stream starts? The stream did start on Twitch, and then we got a little bit into this video, and then I got banned. So that's awesome. In 3 days, the account will be unsuspended, and I'll be able to retrieve the VOD from there. Just so we can have the homework review at the very least. I think the homework review is very valuable. I don't like that we lost that. But at least we didn't lose too much of the beginning of this lesson. I can still say a little bit about what I was in the middle of saying while we were watching this video. So it's unfortunate. The stream has been going for about almost 2 hours now, so I'm very hungry. I'm going to hope this doesn't affect what I still had left to present. Everybody in chat, lambasting Twitch, send fire to it. How dare we show one bare booty for 30 seconds? Not even one bare booty. It was several people's of varying intent. I don't know. Robots can't discern what we're using it for. It sucks. And so what am I to do? What am I to do? Trying to teach everyone a valuable skill that we can all learn. Fie on me for that. Anyway, enough griping. Let's get into this. So this week we're talking about the Robo Bean and the 11.5 head proportion. The Robo Bean is built upon the bean, but we're using boxes instead this time. If you've been following along with the whole entire workshop, thank you for doing that. If you aren't fully grasping all the elements that we're going to cover by the end of this session, that's okay. That's normal. I'm providing a very accelerated presentation of how this sort of class would be taught in a real education scenario. There isn't time for everyone to process everything in a more ideal manner. We'll talk about this more by the end of the session. But if you're struggling to keep up, it's okay. It's normal. If you're still willing to give it your all, to follow along, do the work that's necessary, and do what you can to understand all of this, I applaud you. This stuff isn't easy, but the fact that you're willing to stick it out here, I highly appreciate it. And it means you're stronger than you realize. So let's get into this video. I'll let Stan Prokofenko speak on the matter. I'm quite certain I don't get dinged for showing Proko videos because this is a free resource on YouTube. Why should I? Why should I be harmed for this? Huh? It's not like a bare booty or anything. Anyway.
In this episode, we'll add structure to the bean to create the Robo Bean. If you haven't seen the bean, structure, or landmarks videos, you might be a little confused with some of the things in this video because we'll be taking the bean and adding structure to it based on the landmarks. So click to watch those now.
Excuse me.
Why use the Robo Bean? A few weeks ago, we met the bean. After you're comfortable with the bean, it's time to move on to his friend, Robo Bean. The Robo Bean is great because it combines the motion from the bean with 3D form. Now we're able to show the side planes to show rotation, and top or bottom planes for tilting and leaning. These drawings are going to be extremely stylized, and by no means is it a finished drawing or how I'm saying you should draw. This is, however, exactly what I'm thinking about when I analyze the form. So showing this simplistic exercise is a great vision into the thought process. It's also just a really good exercise to practice to see and draw three-dimensional form. You should be able to freehand cylinders and boxes from any angle and get the perspective right as I explained in the structure video a few weeks ago. Let's review cylinders and boxes. This exercise is very similar to the bean exercise, except now instead of using balls, we're going to use boxes. Boxes are a little bit more advanced, but more effective because now you have plane changes to better explain the orientation of the form. Spheres are not effective in showing perspective, as I explained last week. You can't see a sphere as three-dimensional unless you add tone. Without tone, a sphere is just a circle. A cylinder introduces perspective because it has a plane change at the top and bottom. A box shows even more perspective because it has a plane change from the front to side planes along with the top and bottom planes. Landmarks. Okay, so let's take a look at the details of the Robo Bean and what exactly the boundaries represent. The top box is the rib cage and a portion of the shoulders. The bottom is the pelvis combined with the butt. Remember those landmarks we went over last week? Well, they're really going to come in handy as you construct the Robo Bean.
So I'm pretty sure I showed the landmarks video. I'm saying this again. I'm repeating this stuff from the last stream that died and has gone to stream heaven. I don't remember seeing this. Maybe it was there. I don't remember seeing an image that we can use for this anywhere. But drink it in. I will take a screenshot of this, or I'll look for it wherever the heck it is. And I'll post it up in the Discord as well as on socials. Drink it in. It's a lot to take in at once. Like this is only some of it is like fully relevant here. But keep it in mind. We've got like the main thing to think about in regards to the Robo Bean. We got to think about the clavicle, the 10th rib, the iliac crest, maybe the pubic bone and maybe the asis, but mostly the iliac crest. And then on the back, think about the scapula. Think about the 7th cervical vertebrae, or just, the end of the spine. Not end of the spine, but the end of the back of the spine, really. The top of the spine, I suppose. Conventionally. Whatever. Of the back of the spine. Whatever. The scapulas, the pieces, which is the back. No, this is the pieces. This is basically the small of your back. Kind of. Not totally. Your sacrum. Where is the sacrum pointing? Is the sacrum pointing in here? Whatever. The pieces is this on the iliac crest. These are the areas that matter for the bean. So think about those the most.
Almost every edge or corner falls on a specific area along the body. Let's start at the top. The top front corners of the first box align with this corner on the clavicles. At the bottom, the corners of the 10th ribs indicate the bottom of the box. These 4 corners give us the front plane of the box. On the back side, the ridge of the spine of the scapula provides the edge between top and back plane. Just stretch that back plane to the length of the rib cage. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly where those corners are because the rib cage in the back is covered by muscles. But the exact points are not important. Just make sure to get the length and angle correct. The top plane is everything between the scapula and clavicles. You have to ignore the trapezius muscle to see this. This is a very important plane to show when the body is leaning forward or backward towards us. Usually I'll even extend this to the edges of the shoulders, but we'll save that for the mannequinization video.
Hold on. Don't do this. Don't give me shoulders. When we do these together and when I have you do them for homework, don't give me shoulders. Only give me
very important
up to here. I don't want to see shoulders extending off the thing.
Plane to show when the body is leaning forward or backward towards us. Usually I'll even extend this to the edges of the shoulders, but we'll save that for the mannequinization video. Connect the side planes for the sides of the rib cage, and the bottom plane doesn't matter much. The space between the boxes is filled with guts and other fun stuff.
I love when my gut has a jack-in-the-box.
Let's move on to the bottom box. The most useful corners I feel are the aces, the corners on the front of the pelvis. They're extremely important to find the angle of the pelvis. Unfortunately, there aren't any good points to indicate the bottom of the front plane. You'll just have to use your imagination and extend them from the pubic bone. Follow the edge of the iliac crest until the pieces.
So we'll go over proportion later. Proportion will be, it pairs a little bit with the Robo Bean. And that's how you'll learn to intuit where that little bit goes, but like just a little bit lower. It basically lines up with like where the glutes would be.
For the side planes, the back plane starts at the pieces and includes the mass of the glutes. The rounded part at the bottom of the glutes is the edge, where you can show a bit of a bottom plane. And again, the top plane doesn't matter because of the guts thing. Together, all these points form the two boxes connected by the spine.
Important note here, spine, not in the middle. It is aligned a little bit to the back, because that's where your spine goes and stuff. Keep that in mind.
Which moves the boxes. Differences between genders.
And one more thing I want to point out about the Robo Bean, he'll probably mention this later. Your hips are on a tilt. Your shoulders are on a slight tilt. This is a slightly curved box. This is also a slightly curved box. You don't have to perfectly draw a perfect box. There's a little bit of wiggle room. It's in the middle, but not necessarily the center. Yes. It's like it's in the back third. That's what the chatter said about the spine. But keep in mind, it's not a perfect box. There's slight angles, the hips especially. When someone is just standing up, this is how your hips are angled. You might notice this about your pants too. They're not perfectly straight. Anyway.
By the spine, which moves the boxes. Differences between genders. The proportions are going to vary from person to person. That's why it's good to know what landmarks you're looking for on the body, so that you can analyze those points on the person you're drawing and measure the proportions. Generally, the rib cage and pelvis on a male are about the same width. On a female, the rib cage is thinner and the pelvis is wider. There's variation within genders. Some men have wider hips and some women have broader shoulders. Mentally identifying the body type before you draw it will help.
That's not to say gender is a body type. A body type is just what's wider, what's narrower, etc., etc. So just keep that in mind.
Motion. With the addition of the top, bottom, and side planes, we can show the motion and position of the body with more detail than with the bean. The corners help to show the tilt side to side with the angles from one side to the other. The top and bottom planes help to show the leaning forward or backward, and the side planes help to show twisting. More about the twist. This brings me to an important part about the twist that I forgot to mention in the bean video. I showed with the towel that the overlaps come from the corners that are closer to us. This is true from the side view of the torso, but from front or back, it's actually the opposite. Here's a better explanation for getting the overlaps right. Figure out which side of the body you're seeing completely. The overlaps are the ones parallel to this rhythm. So, if you're looking at the side, then the side plane is being twisted like this. And the front and back plane will wrap back around the side plane.
I feel like I should run this one more time. Partially because I've watched this 3 times. There's still parts of it I don't fully understand, I just intuit. But it might help to just get that one more time for all of you.
Figure out which side of the body you're seeing completely. The overlaps are the ones parallel to this rhythm. So, if you're looking at the side, then the side plane is being twisted like this. And the front and back plane will wrap back around the side plane. If you're looking at the front plane, then the same thing happens here. But now the side planes wrap behind the front plane and the center line is following the S-curve rhythm. So basically, the overlapping lines are going to follow the rhythm of the plane we're looking at. With the Robo Bean, it's actually much easier to see why this happens. Here, the side plane is wrapping behind the front plane, so this edge would overlap this one. On the other side, same thing. The front edge overlaps the back edge. Assignments, critique.
Hold on. Yeah, okay. We'll just look at how he's doing it real fast so that you can understand it, and then I'll do some myself.
And a giveaway. Alright, so the assignment for this lesson is pretty obvious. Just find some poses, plenty available at proco.com/poses, and draw the Robo Bean for that pose. You'll probably have a bunch of questions, concerns, mistakes you might have made, so next week I'll post examples of me drawing the Robo Bean, which hopefully will address some of your questions. Also, keep submitting your exercises for critiques. I'm going to combine the submissions from the Bean, structure, landmarks, Robo Bean, and mannequinization lessons into one critique video, since all these lessons are related to building forms.
All right. We might need to skim one of these really quick. Does he even talk it through this? He does not speak through this, so we'll not be using this. We'll instead go to the landmark video. Loco landmark.
Before we move on to applying structure and proportion to our figure drawings,
Back in
line of the back. You should do this by twisting your shoulder, points across the angle, as you'll see next week, or ACES for short. Has the fuse like the post flat and bump for the patella.
Never mind.
The angle.
Actually not that relevant. Let's get into the bean then. Let's close this window. Let's open a new document. Get ready to draw along. Let's figure this out together.
In this episode, we'll add.
Let's be sure to get at how these work. Yeah, let me take a screenshot of this. This is the part that matters most to us right now. Save. Pardon me, heading into my folders so that I can put it up on stream so we can all think about this at the same time. 2025 figure drawing workshop. Landmarks of the torso. This is I'm calling it landmarks of the torso in my, what is this image? We'll need this later. In my files, that way I don't confuse it with the full landmarks of the body. Browse. Figure drawing workshop. Landmarks of the torso. So, let's keep this in mind as we go through. Where do I put this thing? Where should I put this thing? Here? Should I put it here? Put it here? In the corner? Let's put it in the top left corner. That's fine. Nah, slightly smaller. Alright, let's do that. And now. Let's follow along with where we're going. Sorry, I forgot the window's not, the video isn't open anymore. But, let's see. So, to transform our bean, the humble bean, into a Robo Bean. Important thing to note here. There's a bit of a gap on both sides. Try to keep them slightly the same in width, depth, I suppose. This isn't even the final version. So let's get the video back on. Actually, this'll help. I'll just make it smaller. I'll make it full screen now. There's a bit of cuntiness in the oops. bad words. There's a bit of sass in the hips, honestly. So let's do this all together. The top corners of the first box aligns with what corner?
Top front corners of the first box align with this corner on the clavicles.
So they're basically from that angle. It looks like it's on the rib cage, but it's more like when you're drawing the collarbones. It's more like when they curve up like this, a little bit into it. So that would be right there. That's the top. If that makes sense to anybody. If you were to draw the handlebars of the collarbone, where they move into the shoulders, that's where they get cut off. That's where you draw the top corners of the torso box.
At the bottom, the corners of the 10th ribs indicate the bottom of the box. These four...
And yes, these can go down like this-ish. We're not necessarily using proportion to figure out how it's shaped. It's just for us to understand what do these shapes represent. This shape represents the collarbone to the 10th rib. So something like this. That's the shape.
Corners give us the front plane of the box. On the back side, the ridge of the spine of the scapula provides the edge between top and back plane. Just stretch that back plane to the length of the rib cage. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly where those corners are because the rib cage in the back is covered by muscles. But the exact points are not important. Just make sure to get the length and angle correct. The top plane is everything between the scapula and clavicles. You have to ignore the trapezius muscle to see this. This is a very important plane to show when the body is leaning forward or backward towards us. Usually, I'll even extend this to the edges of the shoulders, but we'll save that for the mannequinization video. Connect the side planes for the sides of the rib cage, and the bottom plane doesn't matter much. The space between the boxes is filled with guts and other fun stuff. Let's move on to the bottom box. The most useful corners I feel are the aces, the corners on the front of the pelvis. They're extremely important to find the angle of the pelvis. Unfortunately, there aren't any good points to indicate the bottom of the front plane. You'll just have to use your imagination and extend them from the pubic bone. Follow the edge of the iliac crest until the pieces for the side planes. The back plane starts at the pieces and includes the mass of the glutes. The rounded part at the bottom of the glutes is the edge, where you can show a bit of a bottom plane. And again, the top plane doesn't matter because of the guts thing. Together, all these points form the two boxes connected by the spine, which moves the boxes. Differences between genders. The proportions are going to vary from person to person. That's why it's good to know what landmarks you're looking for on the body, so that you can analyze those points on the person you're drawing and measure the proportions. Generally, the rib cage and pelvis on a male are about the same width. On a female, the rib cage is thinner and the pelvis is wider. There's variation within genders. Some men have wider hips and some women have broader shoulders. Mentally identifying the body type before you draw it will help. Motion. With the addition of the top, bottom, and side planes, we can show the motion and position of the body with more detail than with the bean. The corners help to show the tilt side to side with the angles from one side to the other. The top and bottom planes help to show the leaning forward or backward, and the side planes help to show twisting.
Alright, so that's about everything that goes into roughly how the Robo Bean is constructed. The main thing to think about is, now I can hide those a bit. Take this out. Our Robo Bean is built off of, from the bottom of the ribs, very basically, to the top of the collarbone. I'm making this black because this irritates me to look on my blue background. Roughly speaking, and I'm gonna consult this video again one more time. Never mind, it doesn't show what I think it should show. Or it did. It did. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Let me actually tighten this up just a bit more. This corner, think of it. It's the iliac crest. No, I shouldn't use that term. But think of it like an underwear. Think of it like underwear. If your underwear is that high leg, and this heads into the tip, the very tippy tip. I'm used to using just like this for the crotch. You can simplify it down into a point if you so desire. I will not use. I can't even type it in chat. I have to go to Picardo.com. What's my URL? Picardo.tv/RivRider in order to be able to chat with everybody. When I open the stream channel, it is muted. Good. There. I put my joke in chat for everyone to think about. The front of the Robo Bean. This is what's in the front. In the back, think about it as going from the similar vibe, but now it's a little bit tilted. It's a little bit curved, and your hips especially, they are tilting. You can see the bottom plane of the hips a little bit when you look at it from the back, as opposed to the top plane when you see it from the front. Here's the small of the back, the pieces, the sacrum, the whatever. I call it the small of the back. It's not entirely accurate to call it the small of the back, but it's easier for me to remember it that way. Because the bottom box in the Robo Bean, once again, your hip bones look something like this. They look something like this. This is what the top of that plane represents. I'm just saying it one more time so you understand it. And so, with this new understanding in mind, I'm going to check my outline real quick. Am I on the track? Yes, we are now going to do some gesture drawing, some bean gesture drawing, using the Robo Bean. So, let me get gesture drawing party. Know this, understand this. I will keep that on another layer. And then I will pull up gesture draw party. Let's look for someone slightly naked, but not TOS naked. Picardo doesn't have any TOS. Isn't that awesome? I just have to turn on mature mode for this website. Why didn't I start here to begin with, you might ask? Twitch is so slightly more convenient for me. That's why. Picardo has a very small install base, in all honesty. So unless I'm like big pulling from social media, which was probably always going to be the case, Picardo just has a little bit less draw. Let's do. Ooh, this is a guy we used last week, but it says I didn't watch this video, so I'm going to assume it's a new one. Mute that. Sensei, do we draw a Robo Bean right from the start, or draw a regular bean and then a Robo Bean on top of it? Start with the Robo Bean. Go right into a Robo Bean. You can practice normal beans on your own if you still need more time to like grasp it, but I want you to see with structure. I want you to practice seeing with more structure. So that's what we're gonna do with what we're doing. Let's make this bigger. Let's make it full screen. Dinner has been called, but we got to keep going for at least another 40 minutes. So we're going to do fast-paced stuff. Use what you practiced since last time. Find line of action. And then only draw a Robo Bean. So basically do this. I just want you to do this. We'll do this for 5 minutes, 5 rotations or whatever. So when we'll collect our little collection of Robo Beans, and I'll ask how you feel about it afterwards. So let's get going. Hello, Mr. Yoji Liao. I don't know how to pronounce that. Liao. It's something. Let's get in. He's going. Start. Let's see. We can see a little bit of the top plane. Because these cameras are at a fixed angle, we might end up seeing a lot of top plane, or yeah, mostly beans from this sort of angle. Highly possible. But try to keep an open mind, or rather an even open eye, for where the landmarks we discussed will be, or rather were discussed. You don't got a single word in this. You're just a passive viewer who can only interact with me in chat. So not a lot of twist anyway. A lot more like lean, shooting upwards. If you've got the time, maybe you can put where you think the ribs are. Who knows? Draw that pieces, aces, whichever. I always get it mixed up. Next one. Next pose. Here we go, a twist. We love twists. The model will be moving a lot. Such is the case. We are all doomed to move a little bit when we are posed dynamically and forced to hold that position. But there is a twist here. Descending from here. The back plane is receding into the side plane. The side plane, I think it gives way to the back plane gives into the side plane right here. And it twists forward. A little bit complicated. And not a lot of time to think about it. Mine could have turned out better there, but let's keep going. Ooh, he's making it hard. Ooh, thank you for accounting for the camera angle, Mr. Yoji Liao. I don't know how to pronounce the tilde, the tilde accent. But once again, keep in mind, it's not a perfectly square, not a perfectly rectangular box for your... Goodness gracious, there's like not much to work with there. But it curves out a little bit. It's not one flat dimension, it's slightly curved. There is like no way you see anything in there. If this is tough for you and you think this isn't being very informative, this particular pose, understandable. I'm not getting a lot out of it either. You can still draw your front plane of where you think, really just a line through the middle to express where the front planes are, if it helps you. Alright. We see a lean going back. I feel... And this is where drawing the line of the shoulders and the hips really helps for establishing like where to really go for setting up your boxes. Oh, he moved. He adjusted himself. We're seeing he's facing towards us a bit. Facing a little bit to the right, I feel. So I think we see a little bit of his right side, IMHO. Let me know if I'm yapping too much for your tastes, for your learning preferences during these live drawings. I just figure it helps to express my thought process behind these. He's tilted a little bit, actually. He's tilted a little bit. So you didn't necessarily see the side plane of his waist. Alright, last one. Last one for the Robo Bean. Nice. Nice C-curve through there. I think. His arm. His left arm is raised a bit. His bottom arm is lowered a bit. So I'm making that an S-curve. 2 C-curves going in opposite directions. We're seeing a lot of the back plane and a bit of the front plane because you can see his man nipple sticking out. And we can see there's a rib there. I think I'm drawing my boxes, my torso box, just a bit too short. It might be. Again, a lot of side plane to look at there. And it's like that, something like that. Still see a bit of where the top would be there. And the line of action I drew coincides with the spine. And you can put a little bit of the small of the back right there. All right, time's up. How'd you do? Tell me how you felt. How did that feel, trying to look at things with some more structure? A little bit under the gun. Let's draw this right here. That's the spine. Let's see. Chat says, hearing me explain it helps a lot. Good, 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 good. I hoped saying the process out loud helped. You're getting there. Good to hear. Very good to hear. You forgot the tailbone on all of these. It's okay. You're learning. You're learning. I forgot this line right here. It happens. But try to remember certain well, you don't necessarily need to draw the tailbone, but it's an identifying aspect to help me know which side I'm looking at. If you forego the spine, like I did right here, I forgot to do that, then it's hard to tell where you're looking. So just keep those in mind as we go through. Let me consult my outline one more time. Okay, so next up on the to-do list. Next, I'll be presenting the 11.5 head method. Not to keep like pausing the stream because of unwanted stuff, but as I mentioned earlier, I am terribly hungry. Who's okay with taking like a 10-minute break between this and the next segment just to grab a little bit to eat? Just taking a poll right here. Gucci, go for it, sir. Awesome. Sensei needs a hit of coffee and toast. But we'll be going over this next. I might put this video on if people are here when I come back with some food, because it's 8 minutes long. It's more like 7 minutes long because he has an outro full of stuff. But I'll be right back. Sorry to leave you hanging. Hi, who's here? Who's here? Sound off. I need to know whether I play this video and then I eat in the middle and then I'll unmute sometimes to mention something. Or I just take, it's just a break. It's just a sponsored break in all of this. Yo soy cool. I don't know what that means. I'm going to assume that means you're here. Well, if you miss a bit of this, it's freely available online. I hope if you are also hungry, if this has also been going a little too long for you, you grabbed a snack. Otherwise, aquí. I thought that was an L. Yo soy aquí. Look, the font in the chat for I, that dot is so close to the line. It looks like an L. It looks like a bit of my monitor had a speck of dirt on it, and it was cutting off the L. L streamer, no. Anyway, I'll play the video. I'm gonna unmute because I don't have noise suppression raw on my mic. You're gonna pick up sounds. I don't want those coming through. So I'll hope I don't need to interject as much. Let's go. Mute.
Hey, welcome to Proco. My name is Stan Prokopenko. In the last lesson, we looked at Dr. Paul Richet's system for measuring human proportion based on the height of the head. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at a different approach, one that is based on the same proportions as Richet's, but uses a different unit of measuring. At first glance, the head height seems like the logical unit to measure from. It's the most commonly used method and the one used by most canons throughout history. If Leonardo da Vinci used it, it must be the best way, right? Well, that's up to each artist to decide, but although it's not as popular, Robert Beverly Hale's cranial height method definitely gives the head height method a run for its money. Since no method is perfect, you choose the one that works best for you. Hale's method uses the size of the cranium as the unit. This method today is used by artists like Glenn Villepeu and Michael Mentler. The advantage of this method is that many important skeletal landmarks correspond to this unit, unlike with the head method that aligns with nipples and navel as landmarks, which vary a lot more than skeletal landmarks. Also, the size of the cranium can be measured from any head angle and doesn't change. However, the length of the head changes as the jaw opens and closes, or as the head is foreshortened. Hale's method seems to be more consistent and more reliable when drawing a person in a pose. I asked Marshall Vandruff why he prefers it, and this is what he said.
I don't like the head length system. It's great for straight-on studies, but it breaks down as soon as you foreshorten anything, especially if you foreshorten the head.
I can't help but wonder if Twitch wouldn't have gotten me sooner, if they would have gotten me for this, in all honesty. Once again, one of these videos had to be re-uploaded with even more censoring for YouTube, so like,
Without a full view of the head, you have no unit to begin. I like Robert Beverly Hale's system for a number of reasons. The first is that you can find that head width when the head is in any position. It makes a sphere at the back of the cranium, and a sphere never foreshortens. This is a measurement that echoes all through the body, and it isn't dependent on seeing the height of the head. So if you can draw a ball, you can look at a head in any position and deduce that ball.
Okay, let's go over the details of this method. The unit itself can be measured from the back view by taking the width or height of the cranium. From the front, you can use the width or the height down to the bottom of the nose. But keep in mind that the bottom of the nose will only align with the cranium if the head isn't facing up or down. So the width is more reliable from the front. From the side, you should use the height of the cranium, since the width is too long. An additional quarter of a unit is added to the front. This cranial unit can be measured with the width or height from any angle, even when the head is foreshortened, because the shape of a ball isn't affected by foreshortening. A ball is a ball from any angle. So we'll take this cranial size and think of it as a box unit. We'll use this box to find three-dimensional placement of the landmarks on the skeleton. 1 unit down brings you to the pit of the neck. For the torso, let's use a width of 2 units. The sternum is 1 unit long, not including the xiphoid process. One more down to the corners of the rib cage at the 10th ribs. So notice how the width of the rib cage doesn't quite reach the edges of this 2x2 box. And the top plane of the rib cage, indicated by the oval of the first rib, faces towards the front, as you can see from the side view. So the back of the rib cage is up higher than this 2x2 box. The length of each clavicle is 1 unit. Keep in mind that these units are slightly separated because of the gap at the pit of the neck. In the back, the width and height of the scapulas fit into the box. In a relaxed position, the distance between the scapulas near the bottom is also 1 unit. One more unit down takes us to the corners of the pelvis, known as the aces. And one more unit down just past the bottom of the pelvis. On a male, the distance between the greater trochanters is 2 units. The width of the pelvis is equal to the rib cage. The 10th rib and aces points also line up. On a female, the width of the pelvis is 2 units, and it no longer aligns with the rib cage. The distance between the greater trochanters is wider too. On the pelvis, there are also some convenient alignments using half units. The top of the iliac crest is at the halfway mark of this box, and the top of the pubic bone and greater trochanters is at the halfway mark here. So when drawing the front of the pelvis, look for these 5 points and remember their distances. From the side, the pit of the neck and the rib cage align with the edges. Then the sternum comes out forward, and the cartilage continues to come forward past the pit of the neck about half a unit. The depth of the pelvis is conveniently 1 unit. We've already found the placement of the greater trochanters relative to the pelvis. 3 units down ends at the connection of the bottom of the femur and the top of the tibia. Another 3 units to the heels. The foot from the side is 1.5 units long and half a unit tall. Finally, the arms. The length of the humerus is 2 units, and from the elbow to the knuckles of the hand is another 2 units. The hand itself is a bit longer than 1 unit. That's it. Since this system uses a 3-dimensional box for measuring, one of its advantages is that it's manageable when something is foreshortened, as long as you are capable of drawing a box in perspective. If not, you might need to go back to the structure lesson and practice that again.
So that's why we start with perspective. That's why I open this class with perspective. You got to figure it out a bit. You gotta understand how shapes close off in perspective, and you're supposed to start developing an eye for how to eyeball where perspective goes. What should be visible, and what creates lines, not necessarily parallel, but vanishing to a certain point with each other. So a little bit more in this video.
So for example, with this foreshortened leg, we know from the top of the greater trochanter to the bottom of the femur is 3 boxes long. So if we can draw these 3 boxes in perspective, we can then fit the leg into those boxes. Okay, so we've explored 3 different methods of human proportion. Like I said, these work really well from neutral static poses and as a general guide when you're drawing from your imagination. Sometimes it can come in handy when you're drawing from a model. But when you're drawing from a model or from photo reference, measuring is much more practical. So in the next lesson, I'll show you how to lay in your drawing using various measuring techniques.
You are an artist now. You must make your own decisions. Do you prefer the proportions of Rubens or Michelangelo? Or would you like to leave the ball of the abdomen out altogether, like Henry Moore? Robert Beverly Hale.
I've created a downloadable diagram.
And you've all heard of the diagram. I put a link to it. I've done my due service in sharing this resource. So give me about another 30 seconds, and I'll be back in the saddle. All right, so how do you feel? How did you feel taking all that in? I know it might be a lot, but how do you feel about the 11.5 head method? It's not even necessarily 11.5 head. I don't believe he mentioned that. Well, he never directly stated it's 11.5, but it is 11.5 heads. How do you feel about that versus using 7.5 heads? Using the full head length versus just the cranial head. Very curious to know what people's impressions are of that. And I'm going to set up for our next segment. But I want to know. You're thinking you must study it more, but it does look more useful. Versus, it seems like a hassle. Well, we say those things now, but in our pursuit of a more proportionate figure, of understanding proportions, I think it's very useful. And you got to learn to intuit these things. You can't assume you're a master just from getting it down like once, just from drawing it once. You got to do it more times. So, next week it's going to be more of a... We're going to spend more time reviewing things. Just going over stuff we've already done and just doing a bit of putting things into practice rather than learning more things. So, from another chatter, because the other chatter is not able to be here. Couldn't make an account. You like how it's more versatile and specific, but in practice it looks like a hassle. I'll tell you, it's really not. It's not that big. It's not that much of a hassle because a circle is just a square. A circle is a square. When you look at one given figure, you're trying to figure out where does a square begin, and then how do you measure up this square to more things. So it's literally... Let me back it up a little bit. It's this. It's this idea. That's really all it is. And it's not like... You're meant to draw it pretty lightly in. Rather than it be the end-all be-all. So, like, we're focused on the theory of how these things work. We're focused on the theory. And we'll eventually get to the point where we put it into real, like, practice. But for now, let's intimate ourselves a little bit more with how it works. So, let's do, and we'll figure a more like smart way of doing things next week. But this week, we're just gonna suffer a bit through the raw process. So, let's put down the straight line down the middle. You can use your shape tools if you'd like. I'm kind of tired of having to draw. I'll draw a circle for everyone. Make this in a group. Let's start with a circle. And make sure it is a circle. We're not doing an oval. It's gotta be a circle. Because this is the basis for... That's a pretty good circle. For our measurements. And we'll go along here. We'll take this cranial size and think of it...
We'll use this box to find three-dimensional placement of the landmarks on the skeleton.
And we'll go over really quick. This is how we're meant to measure skulls. Well, actually, we'll go... No. We'll just go over it now. Because it'll be relevant later in the next one when we do a live model. So, from the front, you can use the width or the height down to the bottom of the nose. That's how you measure your perfect circle. Measured from the back view by taking...
Height of the cranium.
Okay, yeah, because the cranium is all just visible from the back. You can tell where the cranium really is just from on a normal person, from behind, because their neck goes right there. That's how you know to measure it.
From the front, you can
do that. Keep in mind that the bottom of the nose will only align with the cranium.
That the bottom of the nose will only align with the cranium if the head isn't facing up or down.
Yes, this will change if someone's looking up or down, because when someone's looking up, whoop, there's the nostril, there's your skull. Yo-ho-ho.
So the width is more reliable from the front.
Yeah, from the front. If someone's looking up or down, you can just rely, because Sure, skeleton could look, your skull could look this way, but it's still like this, kind of like this. It's kind of shaped like that. So
From the side, you should use the height of the cranium, since the width is too long.
and you can see where the end of the cranium is just because the
An
spine is
additional
connected.
quarter of a unit is added to the front. This cranial unit can be measured with the width or height from any angle, even when the head is foreshortened, because the shape of a ball isn't affected by foreshortening.
All right, now let's get back to here. Let's set up our skeleton for just our base understanding of this. So, one head down takes us to the pit of the neck. Awesome. I'll reflect this here. So the pit of the neck, that's about here-ish. That's your shoulders. And that seems insane, right? That's a lot of neck. There's your jaw, right there. It's not really. This is where your trapezius would be. It's not a lot of space. It might seem that way if you think about it like that, but it's not.
Brings you to the pit of the neck. For the torso, let's use a width of 2 units.
2 units. And keep in mind, this method still isn't perfect either, because if we put these 2 circles on either side, it does always throw you off whenever you draw necks that there is that there is a lot more empty space than you think. Yeah, I can imagine. It does for me sometimes as well, and I gotta convince myself, nope, that's how it works. So, these 2... Whoa, this is, get me away! Hey, let's get off of there for a second. We're normal. It's not perfectly accurate. Those ribs are like right here-ish. They don't align to the end of the circle, but this is entirely for measuring sake.
The sternum is 1 unit long, not including the xiphoid process. 1 more down to the corners of the rib cage at the 10th ribs.
Chat says, I never take these methods as absolute, but it does help give you another way of thinking about things. Yes, that's how you should take these methods. They're not absolute, but they help you a lot in creating something that seems lifelike. And especially if you're drawing from life, which we're here to do. It helps you a lot. So I personally favor this method if I'm drawing a real person. But moving along.
So notice how the width of the rib cage doesn't quite reach the edges of this 2x2 box. And the top plane of the rib cage, indicated by the oval of the first rib, faces towards the front, as you can see from the side view. So the back of the rib cage is up higher than this 2x2 box. The length of each clavicle is 1 unit. Keep in mind that these units are slightly separated because of the gap at the pit of the neck. In the back, the width and height of the scapulas fit into the box. In a relaxed position, the distance between the scapulas near the bottom is also 1 unit. 1 more unit down takes us to the corners of the pelvis, known as the aces. And 1 more unit down just past the bottom of the pelvis. On a male...
Let's stop for a second. I need my notes to catch up. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that how many uses? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 more. I should do it the way he's doing it, actually. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's yeah. It's already split down the middle, so we actually don't need the circle. We're going to take these 2 circles. 1, 2, right. Bukamaloo. Bam. Oops. Bam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then your body is another 6. But it starts again at the halfway point. So, let's bag it up one more time. If you've been following along this video better than I have, great.
Down takes us to the corners of the pelvis.
Corners of the pelvis, also known as the aces. So it's like right here-ish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here-ish. Yes.
known as the ACEs, and one more unit down just past the bottom of the pelvis. On a male, the distance between the greater trochanters is 2 units. The width of the pelvis is equal to the rib cage.
So let's note that down. On a male, I'm now putting this male symbol up here because he is a great warrior. The width of the pelvis is equal to the rib cage. So we'll drop this down here. Bing bang. We'll follow roughly the shape of the pelvis right there. We'll draw this here. Well, maybe that's not totally accurate. That's bones. Because the legs then extend here. It's like an action figure. They kind of do this. Width the pelvis is equal to the rib cage. And then what did it say about the other things? The distance between the greater trochanters. No, just one more.
Of the pelvis. On a male, the distance between the greater trochanters...
Okay, he was just measuring that out. So the greater trochanters, where just basically where are these two connected? Where are these bones? They're about halfway down. They're like right here. And I don't necessarily want to encourage drawing it like that. This is just measuring. This is just measuring. Measuring, that'll get us to know these things.
Is 2 units. The width of the pelvis is equal to the rib cage. The 10th rib and ACEs points also line up. On a female, the width of the pelvis is 2 units, and it no longer aligns with the rib cage. The distance between the greater trochanters is wider too. On the pelvis, there are also some convenient alignments using half units. The top of the iliac crest is at the halfway mark of this box, and the top of the pubic bone and greater trochanters is at the halfway mark here.
So around the 5th line. This is too much structure, actually. This is too much structure. We're not here yet because I haven't equipped you with the shapes of the body. So we'll just keep going in terms of like lines. In terms of yeah, like because I can't like I can tell you draw it like this or do it like this, but it's too much. It's too much to think about right now. I just need you to commit to memory where some of these things roughly line up. If you were to consider like your hip, like we talked about with the Robo Bean, your hips are tilted. So that's why, like that's how that works out. Your hips kind of look like this. They do this sort of thing, and then they sort of jut out a bit. But either way, this is just, sorry, proportions.
So when drawing the front of the pelvis, look for these 5 points and remember their distances. From the side, the pit of the neck and the rib cage align with the edges. Then the sternum comes out forward and the cartilage continues to come forward past the pit of the neck about half a unit. The depth of the pelvis is conveniently 1 unit.
I guess we'll draw that really quick. Couldn't hurt. I'll just copy this. Ah! Nope, we're not going to just copy this. That's a new layer. One quick detour into drawing the side length. Bring this head over again. Put it in the middle. And just so we can understand. Your head, or rather your skull, sticks out about half a unit long. Which means it does something like this if you really wanted to have somewhat accurate. So this doesn't feel right to me. A full half unit, but whatever. Do that. 1, 2, 3. Oh gosh. 4, 5, 6. This is supposed to be the exact same thing. Why isn't it lining up exactly with each other? No, they are. It just doesn't feel like they are. Once again, if you're doing it through this method, your spine, it curves around. It sticks a bit out from the measurement. But your pelvis still ends around here. It sticks out a bit from there. And again, this is a square. Gotta think about it in squares. And this is just bones. This is just bones. There's no muscle being added yet. This is just roughly how you determine these things are measured. So this actually, 10th ribs right there, ish, comes out half a unit. Your Robo Bean chest is shaped something like this. Rib cages are crazy. And your chins. Yeah, your chin dips a bit right there into the second. Yes. Dr. Robo Beatnik's Mean Bean Machine, says chat.
We've already found the placement of the greater trochanters relative to the pelvis. 3 units down ends at the connection of the bottom of the femur and the top of the tibia.
So that's, where the legs are connected. That's where our half starts. That's super messed up. Let's take this. I'll take a bam, 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 bam. Go back 1 bam. And I will move. Oh. What? I thought these were separate. What's this one? Oh. Okay. Whatever. Ah, it's messed up too. Whatever. Whatever. Let's take the single circle. Move it over here. It starts at the halfway. And it goes down, down. Your leg is about 3 cranial units down. We'll draw that like that. Goes down to the tibia. Then we'll do that again. Another 3 units down. Do that again.
Another 3 units to the heels.
To the heels.
The foot from the side.
Alright, we'll do this one. Sorry.
Yeah. Another 3 units to the heels.
To the heels, which means the very bottom of the foot. You can represent with a triangle. And then we'll just do that on the other side. I'm gonna make it easy for myself because I get to. We'll do this. This isn't necessarily where this should be lining up structurally, bonely. Note that on the skeleton, the tibia was shaped like this. This is just a stick figure. No gesture. Just a stick figure. And actually, the foot is about half of a cranial unit. Keep that in mind. That's where that lines up. This isn't perfect. This is not perfect at all.
The foot from the side is 1.5 units long and half a unit tall.
I'll turn off the subtitles on that. We'll bring this. Yeah! Do this, I guess. We'll do this, I guess. It'd make so much more sense if I was using these boxes as well. I apologize. that we're doing it with only circles, and I feel like I've come too far to switch to the boxes. You are free to use boxes when you're doing your studies later, which I'm going to assign. You're free to use boxes instead of just plain circles, just so long as the boxes are scaled to the cranial units that are necessary. But something I want you to keep in mind, like starts there. Look at that bone. Look at how the thigh is like, it's posed up. It's got that slight curve forward, and then it offsets a bit because there's a small gap right here. If you've ever seen an artist or me draw a leg like this, that's why. I don't know, it just makes sense to me. To represent the leg like this. Just with this straight, not a straight, just this little curve that accompanies a straight line in the back. So again, halfway down, that's where the heel is. And then it's about another half unit out for the toes. Now let's do arms.
Finally, the arms. The length of the humerus is 2 units.
It's so funny. Let's do that. 2 units. We'll draw this coming out. Again, the shoulders are separate from your ribcage because that's where this line, this end of the box, corresponds to the scapula, which is your shoulder blade. So I don't want to see it on the torso itself. But that's where this goes, comes out, hits the joint.
And from the elbow to the knuckles of the hand is another 2 units.
And we'll turn that off for a second. I want this. Another 2 units. And about halfway down the forearm, that's the wrist, to the end of the palm, which is where the knuckles are.
The hand itself is a bit longer than 1 unit.
Hand itself is a bit longer than 1 unit. If you use another circle to represent this method just for the hand itself, your fingers are like, something like this.
That's it.
That's this method summed up like that. I'm going to make it easier for myself again. If you're doing this on paper, I'm so sorry. I'm being a bit of a dick about this. I'm taking the easy way out. You have to take the hard way around. We'll try to line that. Again, you can use this video again at any time. You can go back to it if you forget anything from your notes or that you need to. You want to go back to just reviewing how it works. And it's about halfway through this unit. Start of the palm. My measurements are slightly off here as well. This line is a little bit off as well. But that's head units. That's head units, baby. Have we learned anything today? You think so? All right. Well, chat, let's put that into action. We're going to do a 15 minute figure study. together. And we're gonna use this proportioning method. What was that clapping sound? Was there a clapping sound? Or was it that? That's my chair hitting the back of my closet. Can't wait to rearrange my office space a bit here. Line of action gesture. Ooh. Repeated clapping sounds. I'm trying to teach figure drawing, but the clap of my ass is too loud and it's alerting all of the students. Practice tool for artists. Here we go. We'll do covered models. No. Yeah, we'll do covered models. This method is a nightmare on paper. I can agree. I can see why. I too remember struggling with this method because it's a lot of measuring. It's a lot of fucking measuring. It really is. I cursed again. Sorry. This is not a course for children. I'm trying to be yeah, no, it's a lot of measuring to do by hand. Let's take. We're gonna take longer than that. What's 15 times 60? 900. 900 seconds. 900 seconds on the clock. Let me look for a good pose that'll work for us. All genders. Oh, it's too... I can't do that? Ah! Okay. Alright. Okay. No, I don't want a kid. Get me out of here. No thanks, I didn't enjoy that, actually. Adults! Actually, I don't. No. We gotta have a little bit cover. It won't fly on YouTube otherwise. Not that I give a crap. But interesting. Is that? The timer didn't work properly. All right. I'm looking. I'm thinking. Yes, we're doing this one. We're doing this one, and then I'll put up the live split again. This shall be our model for testing out the 11.5 head model, the cranial head proportion system. Yeah, we're not taking the time to do the female skeleton today because it mostly relates that making the difference between like the shoulder lengths and all that. That's stuff that happens like internally, and you got to go back yourself to like make it like clear, and all that for yourself as you do your studies. But let's do this. Let's do this one. It's a little bit on the weird side, but I think it could be of use for us. So, let me get live split on. Time more. We'll go for 15 minutes. Probably. And we'll see how you do. So what you want to do here. We haven't gone over shapes to use beyond the Robo Bean. What I want you to do is just do your best. You can use lines. You can resort to just lines in the Robo Bean to draw this out. But use the cranial head method if you can, where you can see it. I know that big crow schnoz is blocking the nose. But the end of that nose, it's like right around here, that's where the nose is. That's my cheat code. That's where the cranium is about. So good luck with that. Do your normal gestures. define stuff, Robo Bean it, and then refine the anatomy of what you've done with the cranial head method. And we'll see how this goes. Good luck. I will be speaking over my process as I go here. So, we see a very nice C-curve gesture. And we've got a straight going through that leg. Well, through this leg. I'm putting my hand down so I'm not resorting to using it. I'm drawing a straight there. I'm going to put this line here. And put a curve for the foot. Doing that. Since we're trying to refine gesture into something with a little bit more proportion, I'm gonna put, actually no, wait, that's way too high up. Just look at this in relation to other things. If this is the knee, then the shoulder is like right here-ish, which is halfway through the thigh. It's pulling back, it makes a C-curve with gesture. And you can refine that into just 2 lines if you, not necessarily refine, but you can detail it into 2 lines if you really wanted to. It is making that. It's making a Spider-Man hand pose. And then the cranium somewhere around here. So something I'll do the bean. I'll do the bean now. The Robo Bean. We see the glutes. The glutes are very, very visible. This bottom box, that's the whole pelvis, plus a little bit more. This body is twisting. And if you started with just trying to measure the head in relation to everything else on this page, that's also good. No knocking it. But this body is twisted a bit. This is not a straight-on box that we're drawing here. There is a curve. This is what the curve is kind of shaped like. Maybe more closer to something like that. It's reaching forward while it's being pulled back. So maybe something like this. This is a really rare moment where we see this going on. But that doesn't make sense logically, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. But I do feel quite certain there's a lot of scrunch going on with this person's torso. There's their spine. Here's their spine. We're following their spine. There's the tailbone. And there's their cranium. And once you've got the general like gesture of your pose all set up, take the cranium that you draw, pretty much, and just start scaling it. Compare it against what we've just been over. I'll pause the timer actually. I'll give you a free second if you're still drawing, so that I can put this on screen. Wrong one. This one. And I need to adjust it for the. Oops. Well, that doesn't help if I cover the image now, does it? We'll adjust it to here. We're going to cover up. I completely forgot to change the now on of the stream of today's lesson. That's my bad. But once you've got your gesture in, measure your cranial head against everything and see if you need to make certain parts longer or certain parts shorter. Oh my gosh. All right. 3:45. I'll figure out the hotkeys for live split later. We were at 3:45, so you have another 11-ish minutes, 11:15. Once this gets to 11:15, it's pencils down. So this person, actually, I gotta adjust my real, like, figures a bit. This person's thigh goes under. There's their glutes. And this arm, well, there's their neck. But the arm, it's a lot tighter than this, actually. It's much, much tighter than what I've drawn. But there's a lot of compression. There's definitely still a lot of compression in the torso. So maybe this is the part where I have to break in the... Yes, I'm not pushing this as much as I could be. This curve needs to go further. You know what? Screw what I was drawing. We're starting over. We're starting over. That's scary, isn't it? In the middle of a 15-minute figure drawing study, we're starting over. But sometimes it just has to be done. Sometimes it just has to be done. If you want to get a better feel for how things go. This arm going halfway through. We're seeing the glutes, so that means it's turned towards us. But then it curves around. Curves around. We see the top plane of the back. It's twisting in some way. This is a tough pose. If you're having trouble with this, I apologize, because I'm also having trouble with this. So this head, spine, so where is the top box on this figure? Maybe hereabouts. Maybe it's doing this. Maybe when it turns, if this is like a perspective of vanishing point, we might be like straight at the middle. Which it is dead on with the photo, so that's not too that might not be too inaccurate to think. We don't see the bottom plane of the top bean, which might be why this is just a little bit tough. I'm so sorry. I'm forcing everyone to like really strain themselves to see where the heck this stuff is. But we definitely don't see... We don't see to the other side of the top box, I don't think. Because we see the top of the spine. My figure's getting a little obscured. But I probably need to fix some more stuff in it anyway. I can already tell I'm misaligned in my proportion. This is the time. I'm gonna put this on another layer because it's easier for me. I hope you've been drawing lights. If if this if you needed to mess with stuff. Well, take my head. Take my head. I'll take the cranial head. That's a good enough circle. Then I'll do this. Okay, that's the core. 1, 2, and there's a little bit of foreshortening occurring. So it can overlap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. And measuring our heads. I need to put these in a folder. Measuring the arms. How much were the arms again? 4. 1, 2. Well, no, that is straight on. 3, 4. I'll mess with this. Oops. And then the hand, yeah, it starts halfway through the last one. Now measuring legs. 1, 2, 3. Not a lot of foreshortening, but it is moving to the front. So maybe it's more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, starts there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this siding method, I know, it'll really crowd your page if you get like really, really stuck on it. I know it will. It's okay. As long as you can discern where your figure is underneath all that crap. 2. That doesn't seem right. Let's do the other one. 1, 2, 3. That's kind of on the side. So 1, 2, 3. We adjust accordingly. Bring this to the end. That's where the joint is, roughly. Well, that doesn't seem right. Maybe there was a bit more foreshortening in that than I expected. No, I'm definitely drawing that too long. That means there is foreshortening. We just compare what we're looking at. That's another way you can like tell something's wrong. If you think a limb is too long, oh, right, you can't see all that. I shortened my leg. That means something was off. There's still something off. I haven't done this perfectly. But the one that's a mystery here is for me, is that back arm. Where does it start? It has to be outstretched. So if my sighting method starts here, 1, 2, 3. Maybe I just have my cranium is just starting wrong, because the head is being covered, or rather is covering, the connection point. So I think I have my head all wrong. My head needs to start around here. Just throws everything off, which isn't good. But I'm off. I'm resigning myself to the fact that I am off. Yeah, I might have been just doomed because my leg is too short compared to this arm. So something happened. Fixing all that is a real big pain. Yes, there's definitely a few things wrong with what I got. We still got another minute to go. Adjust where needed. Seconds. Okay, pencils down. I see where I went wrong. I did not emphasize the curve of the body enough. So even though I think I did measure it correctly, I did not give the behind enough to work with. This is the hips. They're fairly stationary. It's your torso that has the most give because the ribs are very flexible. But what I should have done was more of this. Yes, feel free to submit your figure to the homework thread if you'd like, the homework channel in the Discord. Can you? Yeah, you feel free to. If you'd like to just talk about how you did. Because I'd like to get a little bit of I'd like to hear rather how you think this worked for you. Just trying to work with a little bit more structure. Do you think it helped? Or was it more of a pain to try and manage it? I think my problem really was just I didn't push my gesture enough. I should have. I'm so sorry if your attempt at using this method has like tremendously backfired on your enjoyment of using it. But it really is a big, trust me. It does make a difference, especially when trying to draw people, live humans. Let's check the server. So, reading the message in Discord. This was fun to do in terms of working with perspective in accordance to the structure, but I messed up on the length of the waist because his right hand is supposed to be on the left knee. I see. So let's take a look. Here's how some of us did. These are from Ladverian Badger, Ladverian B, and Mr. Lark. And just ran for comparison between these two. There's mine. A little bit scuffed. Mistral says a friggin' creature. So let's take these off now. Let's reduce this one actually. If OBS would like to give me the images that we're working with, thank you. So there's our reference. Let's compare. Gave up halfway through. It was unsalvageable. It's okay. I understand. I did shoot a little too over the moon for everyone on this one. Please forgive me. But let's see. Structure. Let's look here. Lat variant B. I think you suffered a little bit of the same problem I had, where maybe we could have given the hips a little bit more curve. You're introducing an upper curve in the spine that I don't believe is there. It's definitely, I feel it's more downwards. We needed to hit that a little bit more. And I think similar issue, we should have given the hips a little bit more to work with. Something like this. I'm not actually sure. Maybe something like this. Understandably, if that your circles may have messed up, your measuring method might have got messed up. But I think it's a good attempt at trying to figure stuff out. Let's take a look at Mistrals. Much leaner figure. Probably more accurate as well. I think you got it a little more closer than both of us. Correct assessment of where the side plane is. I think there's a little bit more of the top plane. But you got it... I think you got it a little smarter than me. Definitely you got the connection. I think you figured out where in all that mess the arm was supposed to be. But I like your hip. Maybe I'm being over generous with where the hip should lie. You gave up on the circle model after a while and just zoned out and rendered. Understandable. It's really hard. This was a really hard pose. I should not have gone for it. My brain went, oh, this would be funny. But I should not have listened to that little gremlin in my brain. But let's measure then. If you started flying on instinct, what does this head bring us? 1, 2. We're already off. Maybe not. Maybe not. If we presume there's a little bit of foreshortening there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Eek. 6. I guess anything is you can fit anything into a 6 thingy once you suppose perspective is involved in there. Maybe it's a bit cheating. 1, 2, 3. Probably the easiest thing to measure. In all honesty, this leg. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you landed your. This is where it starts. Goes down a little bit in. Maybe it could have been longer. Who knows? I'm supposed to know. It's close enough. This pose is hard. 1, 2. 1, 2. Yes, and they were supposed to be that long. 1, 2, 3. And I believe what I should have done, started counting the right at the connection. The connection was the more important part. Because the joint isn't counted in this this head counting method. Only because it ends at this part of the bone, and then it picks up again around here. So I think you had the right idea. Let's keep counting though. It's pretty straight on. 1, 2, 3, and it goes off. Yes, I think you got the right idea. Mistral's example is a good one to look from. Because even if you started zoning out, you picked up on the spots that mattered a lot. And I'll do another half measure for that. So yeah. It was tough. I apologize. You can pick a way simpler pose to further refine your grasp of this proportion method. But you did good work. So that's the end of this class, really. Let me save this. There's lesson 4. Apologize for this last bit of agony. I'm glad you had fun with it. Hope some of you who might have struggled, if you were struggling, could find something to work with in there. Let's talk homework. I'll give you a week for this one because ow, stretching. Remember to stretch. Woo. Let's get this off the screen. Give you a week on this one because when we come back here on Monday, it's going to be mostly review. We're going to slow down for a second and just draw figures. Go over everything that we've been practicing. And I'll share a little bit more insights on how some of these processes work. And it might help you with some of your practices. You might want to submit a second image after Monday's class that further refines what you were doing. So let's homework. I want you to do we'll do a gesture draw party. We'll do another gesture draw party. Gesture draw party. You could do the full video, or you could do just 5 poses. Full video / first 5 poses of Robo Beans. Just Robo Beans. Just Robo Beans. That's your first assignment. And your second? Do a 5-minute pose. Take one of the 5-minute poses. One of the 5-minute poses. / a photo you can challenge yourself with from lineofaction.com and proportion it with the cranial head method. That is your 2 assignments. Bunch of practice to do. But I know you can do it. Feel free to review everything we went over on your own time, if you need it. You're always free to hit me up if you have any questions about how you're going, about how things are doing. And just feel free to take charge of the resources you need to look up if you need to gain a fuller understanding of what the hell we all went over. Watch more videos. Find more tutorials. Speak to somebody who can give you more insight. Be pushing yourself, though. Be pushing yourself. Again, I apologize that the last one was really, really tough. It was not intended to be that tough. And I once again apologize that it was. But, oop, what the heck? Is it that? No. Is it that? Yes. We'll flip this coloring thingy. But that's all. That's pretty much stream. I'll try to have this stuff up sooner. I have to now process this recording, and then I get to chop it up in Premiere, and then I get to export it myself, and then I get to upload it. But at least this process is now in my control versus it releases to YouTube on its own. Do that. Do that. Do that. Why is it like that? White background. We'll tone that down a little bit, actually. Alright. And this is your homework. 1, 2. So yeah, this is your work to do. Challenge yourselves. If it's too hard, it's okay. If it's too hard, you can try another pose. You can try a simpler thing. It's okay if you do something you're not happy with, or if you put it off until Monday because it's not due until Thursday. Are there any questions I can answer here now about certain stuff? One quick question. What's your question? Were you supposed to measure with the circles first before drawing the Robo Bean? I wanted you to find the gesture first. Find the gesture first, and then you refine what you do with proportion. That's what you did, but it may have fucked you up a tad. Language, goodness. Well, in that case, feel free to try it in reverse. Measure out what you got with the head system, and then constrain your gesture within those bounds. Personally, I don't think that's a great idea because you generally work from gesture into refining, but you can give it a shot, see if that works for you, because you got to find the figure really. The cranial head method is for finding what you did was measure first and then gesture. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, no. My bad. Gesture's the first thing you didn't do. Yeah, find gesture first. That's what I did. And it messed me up because I didn't find a good enough gesture. Your stream may be a bit delayed. That's one of the downsides of streaming on Picardo. I think there's a wider delay on everything, I've noticed. It might be like 10 seconds behind. So let me show you. I'm hitting the timer now. The time at which like this, what am I even measuring as the scale for how far behind I am? I'm stopping. Is it if the delay is longer than that, then it's longer than Twitch, probably. I can't think of anything else to mention. Try your best. We'll come back on Monday. We're going to refine what we know, what we've learned, and give our brains a second to cool down and stop learning so many things at once and just refine what we got. Thank you for showing up to the stream. Like, comment, subscribe. YouTube. Let me switch my head card. Twitch kind of got bombed. We'll see. We'll try to work within TOS next time. But feel free to follow me on my socials. Feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can visit. Let me change that one line of text here. You can come to picardo.tv/rivriderart. Is it Riv Rider or Riv Rider Arts? It's Riv Rider Arts. And you can follow me there for any backups. There is a Discord server. Link is at the socials, on social media. I'll put it somewhere. You can permanently access it. It's mostly for notifications. And I'll stop keeping you for much longer. Have a good evening. Have a good rest of your day. Hope this all helped. This all continues to help. And good luck with your work.